Wasn't recording. So let's record this puppy. Okay. So talking about triggers right now. Who knows what some of their triggers are? Someone write them in there. Tell me what your triggers are. Nothing is, nothing is, can be embarrassing because we've all got them. I promise you, everyone in the world has them. So, if you've got a trigger, let me know. I can tell you some of mine. Here's one of them that I'm not proud of. If I get into an argument, with my partner, I grew up in a family that actually used alcohol as a way of dealing with things. So my trigger is if I get into an argument with my partner, like the first thing I think of actually for me is having a piece of chocolate or having a glass of wine or whatever it is. It's like, boom, triggered. It doesn't mean I have to act on it, right? But it does mean that when you know what your triggers are, it's a whole lot easier to get around them. It's a whole lot easier to deal with them. So, so a couple of them. Stress, I'm seeing that on both screens. And stress is, right? Like stress is probably our biggest trigger. And we're going to come back and talk about that because there's a lot to the whole stress thing. Another trigger that was brought up was your mother. Yep. My mother is no longer with me, but when my mother was with me, I know that one. And then, okay, Diana says parties and social situations. Absolutely. Like a lot of people don't think of those as triggers, but they are because we have a learned behavior. And we have a learned behavior, if you think about it, around food and drink in our society that is like a mile deep, If you look at anything where people are having fun, look at an ad, people are having fun. What are they doing? They're probably eating or drinking. Like that's, and they're not eating apples. Okay. They're eating chocolate and they're eating cake and, it's just that way. So, Lisa says that boredom, and Jamie too, boredom, absolutely. Like, we get triggered because we're used to being super busy, right? And then all of a sudden you're finding yourself like not really busy right this minute. What do? We snack. It just happens, right? It is just what happens. Traffic, traffic triggers me for sure. And then another one that was brought up was loneliness. Absolutely. Like, loneliness. And right now, more than any time ever, in fact, it's on both screens. It's on the Zoom screen. It's on the Facebook screen. Loneliness. Like we're not, and I know, so I said this yesterday, but we're not used to being alone like we are right now. We're not used to being like so far removed and like an arm's length from everyone. It's not good for us. It's not good for our brains. And it is what will trigger us a lot. Okay. So, I mean, that's a huge one. A couple of other ones, traditions. That's a really good one. You're right. Like that's what started a lot of my triggers actually. And then another one is a trigger is my husband eats a lot of sugar. And most of the time I cannot, most of the time I can, you don't want to join him. Right. And holidays, absolutely. And this was a funny comment someone made the other day, kind of haha funny. But the fact was that her husband and her, what they did was drink together. And when she doesn't drink wine anymore, then it's a big trigger because he wants to continue doing it. And now she's kind of the wet blanket, right? And so all of these things, like it's so crazy. And then another one is just like avoiding something I don't want to do. Absolutely, right? Like that is so easy. Like, okay, I did this yesterday. I sat down to write something that I had to write. And immediately my mind said, oh, you're hungry. You need to go you need to go eat. And I'm thinking, but I thought I did eat, right? Like, that little conversation in your head. And you realize that, yes, you actually did eat, but you're immediately trying to avoid. You're doing the avoidance situation. So all of this to say, right? Like all of this to say is that when we know our triggers, they are so much easier to deal with. Because when we don't know our triggers, when we're just acting or reacting, then what's happening is that we're not in charge. Basically, our reptilian mind is in charge. And hang on, if anyone sees that, that would be the cattail. And excuse me, I'm going to stop for a second because I have to digress for 1 second. My large glass of water, if I'm not paying attention, my cat will come over, insert foot, and turn it over. So we'll just let her do her thing over there. But really, what happens is that when we know our triggers, we become powerful. Because when we're in control, then we can make our own decisions. We're not being driven by, what one person never said, I don't think anyone said, time of day, right? That's usually the one for me. And so how are we going to deal with this? I mean, this is a very long conversation, okay? Only because there's so many things that we can do, right? I mean, there's probably 20 tips, tricks, methods I use to deal with triggers, because not everything always works, okay? Especially like I'm just going to say this, and then we're going to talk about triggers that trigger stoppers. So let's say that I'm thinking of a good trigger for me because I've got them all. Let's say that I'm getting ready to cook dinner. So now I'm already thinking, oh, I have to cook dinner. I always have to cook dinner. I'm going to have a glass of wine because I have to cook dinner, and it makes me feel so much better because it's what I get to do. And then I get into an argument with the other half of our family. So now I've got a double trigger, right? Like I'm getting triggered both ways. And when these things happen, which hopefully don't happen all the time in my world, you guys probably think like a knockdown dragon over here. But when these things happen, if we have layers of ways to deal with them, then it just becomes easier. It just becomes easier, because otherwise what we're doing is, if we're in a sugar-free time, what happens is that if we don't have ways of dealing with it, then we feel bad. We feel sorry for ourselves, right? I can't have the thing I want. All this stuff is happening and I can't have the thing I want. We don't want to do that. Like, I mean, it's such a low powers place, okay? Our playing right here is to come from a high power place. So let's talk about some ways of dealing with triggers. All right. And I'm going to have to look at my notes because I made some notes for y'all because I just really wanted to think about some of these things. So, you know what? I want to tell you one other thing. Triggers can come in a lot of ways, like situational, like we talked about. They can be something that we hear, okay? Something that we see. So there's a lot of stuff always going on. I mean, I noticed this just recently, and I'm not going to talk all day, I promise, but I just want you guys to think about this, because it's a lot of times it's not stuff we do. I was watching a TV show, and what I realized was that in this TV show, every time there was a stressful moment, they either ate ice cream or drank wine. Like, I hadn't paid attention to this before, but what I realized was that now I'm seeing them deal with a trigger in this way. So just realize it is insidious, okay? This is insidious. Ways that we can deal with this. Okay. If you're mainly visual, a couple of ideas are, one thing I like using a calendar. Let's say you're going to do the 30-day reset. Okay. So you're going to go through through 30 days, and you're not even going to have to start until next Monday. So what you do is you just download a calendar for February. Just that's all you need. And that calendar goes somewhere where you're going to see it all the time. And when you finish a day and you've created your sugar reset, you didn't have any sugar, you did everything that you said you were going to do, you're putting a big X through that calendar. And when you put a big X through that calendar, you're going to create a visual stimulus, because let's say by day 3 or day 4, maybe you've got that feeling like, oh, why am I even bothering with this? Really, Kelly's just full of BS. Like, why am I even bothering this? If you put that big X every day, day 4, and you see it, you don't want to break a streak. Like we don't like breaking streaks. We don't like open loops. That's another way of dealing with things, is that our brains do not like open loops. A calendar that is half completed is an open loop. So that's one easy way we can do this. Another easy way is that when you're triggered, whatever the trigger is, I don't care what it is, think about the fact that this is your brain protecting you, right? So you get triggered, your brain wants you to take the action that you don't want to take. That's all it is. So one simple way to get around that is to just take like 3 deep breaths, okay? And like, that's all, just 3 deep breaths. Then on your 4th deep breath, you're going to breathe in what it is that you want. For instance, maybe on my 4th breath, I say, I breathe in peace, okay? Because I need to be peaceful right now. And when I exhale, I'm going to breathe out the thing I don't want. I breathe out stress. And then the next one, I breathe in, and whatever it is, right? Whatever comes to mind. Let's say I breathe in love. I breathe out upset. And you just do this. And it doesn't have to be long, right? This is it, and no one has to know you're doing it, right? Like this is one of those things that you can do anywhere. You can do in the line, you can do it in traffic, you can do it anywhere. But what you're doing is when you breathe in something that you want and then breathe out something that you don't want, what you've just done is it's like when a kid's screaming, right? And the kid's screaming, and instead of being like, no, 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 don't do that, you pick up something very cool. If it was my cat, I'd show her the glass of water because she wants to tip it over, right? You pick up something really cool and give it to the kid. So diversion, okay? You're diverting. That's all you're doing. It's just a simple little diversion. But usually that is enough. That's just enough to get yourself back on track. Because in the end, what we really want to do is we want to make this easy, and we want to make it so that we're in control and we're not depending on willpower, because just depending on willpower is difficult, right? Like just willpower is a tough one. So we don't want to do that, because white knuckling your way through things stinks, quite frankly. We're not going to do that. So that is a breathing exercise. That's a great one when you're stressed. Another one is that, let's say that, let me think of a good one. Let me look at my notes real quick. Okay. I've got one. Okay. And this is something that has become such a habit for me that it's kind of funny. But what I do is when I need to focus, right? I don't want all this chitter chatter going on in my head. I need to focus on something. I put on focus music. Okay. You can just Google in YouTube, and you find focus music 1,000 times. But what it does is I have trained myself to the point where when I put on the focus music, I automatically focus. Does the music work? I don't know. Like, I really have no idea. But I've trained myself that when that music comes on, that's what I do. So think about maybe music is something for you, because like, if you think about this, what we're doing is we're doing things that are auditory, right? Music, visual, Kinesthetic. We're going to talk about more of those, but we're using all the different pieces of our learning. Okay. And so maybe music is that thing that's going to get your brain off of what you don't want, but you're just looking for ways to retrain your brain for a little while. Okay. Questions? Let me just stop for a second and see if anyone has questions about this. Oh, what's my focus music? Really, truly, Rita, I just Google, like I put my YouTube, I go to YouTube, write in focus music, and I just use whatever pops up because I have found it doesn't matter. Like it just really doesn't matter because I have taught myself that when I'm going to play this music, I'm going to be focused for, I give myself 50 minutes, right? So that's my thing. So think about some of like, if you're auditory, things that are going to rewire your triggering. Okay. Another one, I mean, most people won't do this, but it's really powerful, is record yourself. Record yourself telling yourself how proud you are of everything you're doing. Like that's really powerful. A lot of people are like, oh, that sounds really silly. But the truth is that when you're telling yourself how proud of yourself you are, it's huge. It's a huge shifter. So, because it's our voice. So think about like some of the things. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, and I'll just run through these because we don't want to go through all of them, learning them all right now. But another kinesthetic thing you can do is tapping, EFT. Something else you can do is in NLP, it's called swoosh. In our group, we call it the Superwoman because what you're doing is you're changing your state. One of my favorites, and if you've got the motivation multiplier method, then this whole visualization is in there. But it's what I call, I mean, there's two of them actually. One of them is like your future self. Just when you're in a situation where you've been triggered and you think, well, you know what, to hell with this. I want to eat all the junk or drink the wine or whatever it is. When you're in that moment, if you can stop, just stop for, if you can do it for 15 seconds, it's more powerful, but for whatever time it's going to take, you just stop and visually in your head, see yourself at the end of 30 days, at the end of 6 months, whatever it is, see yourself being the person you want to be, right? See yourself as that person who's been sleeping well, that person who has quit eating all the sugar and, the Buddha belly is gone and you're rocking it, or you're out doing the activities that you like to do. Like just put yourself in your future state for a short while and it's going to change everything. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop for just a second. I want to check comments, questions, etc. Y'all let me know what's going on. Okay. Rita said that she just asked Alexa to play focus music and she started playing jazz for focus. It's true. I mean, it's all out there. Anyone else? Let me check comments also in the Facebook group real quick, which I can't do. So if anyone has a comment in the Facebook group and you want me to reply to it, please add it again, because for some reason I have no power in Facebook, which is a bummer since I like having the power, right? Okay. All right. Questions? No? All right. We actually have a very special guest today. I don't know if she wants to say hi or not, but Jamie's in our VIP group and she's been going through the, she's on the call here. She's been going through the whole sugar reset. And do you want to say anything, Jamie, or are you like, oh my God, did you really put me on the spot like this?
I've learned to expect it.
Yeah, thanks.
No, it's we're almost at the end of our first 30 days. Then I did say first 30 days because I will continue for another 30 days. It's been very interesting. It's been fun. I've done it on my own before. It's the first I've done it in a group, and the group makes it a lot more fun because I don't feel like I'm suffering on my own. I have others that are there going through it with me. But thanks, I sleep better. I can feel my energy increasing. I can feel mentally that I'm not as foggy, particularly when I wake up in the morning. I used to have a good bit of brain fog, and that seems to be dissipating as well. And Kelly's kind of laughed at me. I said, I can taste flavors, like in salad dressings and um, just the more subtle fruits and vegetables and things and spices. I can taste those things that I'm like, I've always been putting these in here, but I can taste them now. So it's just been interesting. I've kind of treated it as a little bit of an experiment rather than a punishment. It's something I choose to do. And every day it's kind of like, all right, what's it going to be today? So hopefully that's helpful to some of you.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting me put you on the spot. And you know, I had forgotten that you said that you could taste things. And Jamie is not someone, hang on, feline passing through. Let me remove the cat. Jamie's not someone who drinks. So, you know, she was more enjoying the snacks, the sugary snacks. And so, yeah, thanks. And I think it's very cool that, you know, everybody has a little different, but the truth is that it's probably the things that I see the most when we do this is better sleep, less brain fog, and, you know, less stomach. Quite frankly, for those who were on the call yesterday, I think I mentioned that even my jeans have been a little tight lately. I'm wearing my tight jeans and they don't feel so bad anymore. So it just, you know, happens to everybody, right? All right. So I want to just stop for a second. I know I've asked if anybody has any questions. And since I can't see questions in the Facebook group, I will probably have to go back and answer them later. I apologize, guys. I'm not quite sure. You know, it's just, I mean, the fact that I can be on Zoom, talk to you on Facebook and, you know, say everything to everybody, it's huge anyway, but you know, technology is not perfect. So let's just kind of do a quick recap. All right. First thing is that it's what we started out with today. It's what we started out with Monday. You got to know what you want, right? You got to know why you want it, because there will be a day when you use all the methods that I teach you and you'll be like, yeah, Cal, this just isn't working. And so that's when knowing why you want what you want is so important. And then thinking about like making sure that you give yourself time to get ready and to get set up and to be, you know, super clear on not just what you want, but how you're going to do it. Because knowing, like we talked about yesterday, getting rid of the junk in the house, getting rid of the crap in the freezer, like, you know, all of that stuff, getting rid of the things that are going to tempt you that you don't need them. You can always find them again, right? We can always find them again. Someone did ask me, I know somewhere along the way, about like sugar in fruit. In your guidebook, if you download your guidebook, it should be in the Facebook group, should be in all those emails I'm sending you. It's going to give you a whole list of things to eat and not eat. And you're going to find that there's a whole lot more things to eat than not eat. I don't believe in being like crazy tough. I think fruit's good for you. I think fruit's delicious. For breakfast, I had an orange. So like, I don't think that fruit is that thing you should be worrying about. I do think that what you're really looking at is you're looking at those added sugars. You're looking at the things that you're not expecting. It's like, for those of you who are on the call yesterday, I mentioned the person who, she texted me this morning. I said she'd been eating the same breakfast for 15 years. She said she'd been eating the same breakfast for 31 years. So I told her that, you know, even if it hadn't had sugar in it, she needed to change her breakfast. But it had all this sugar in it, and she never thought it was there because it's what she'd been eating and it kind of tasted like hell. So she didn't think there was any sugar in it. So like, look at those things. So get your runway set. And then today, your homework today is to start paying attention to what your triggers are. Because when you know what your triggers are, it's going to be so much easier to deal with them. Because if you don't know what your triggers are and you suddenly get caught with a trigger that just threw you out of left field, then it's going to be harder to deal with than if you know, I'm going to be in bad traffic today and it's probably going to get me twitchy. So what am I going to do about it before I even go? Or I have to have that conversation I don't want to have. What am I going to do about it now? So, or it's 3 o'clock, like, and that's when I drink the Diet Coke. Like, I mean, I have a client that right now she's still a failed method, because every day at 3 o'clock she wants a Diet Coke, and we've been able to get her down to like 3 times a week, but it still is this 3 o'clock, boom, that's what she wants. So, it's like, know your triggers. Your triggers are going to be, they're going to be emotional. They're going to be time framed. They're going to be location based. They're going to be action based. They're going to be whatever the things are that are going to make you triggered, right? And then at least use one of the things we talked about. Like, I have a lot of these in my quiver, okay? And if you do join for the 30-day and you want me to support you in it, I've got a ton of these things that we'll go through. But for today, just think about, like, you can use a visual, like a calendar that you're going to mark off. You can use like a stress reliever, like your breathing. You're going to breathe in something that you want. You're going to breathe out the things that you don't want. Just super chill. Okay. And then think about maybe kinesthetic. Your breathing can be a kinesthetic one. I mean, that's a really easy one for that. And then for audio, think about some music, if that's what you like, or think about recording your voice, if you're brave enough to do that. Think of what those things are going to be that are going to help you sidestep the years and years and years and years of brain ruts that we've created that are leading us to, eat the thing, drink the thing, do the thing, whatever it is that's causing us to like be triggered and then act. Because you can be triggered, but the trick is not to act. Okay. So, for those of you who are, I know I mentioned to you already, but if you're interested in doing the full 30-day with me, I will tell you what it involves is that we're going to do weekly trainings, and we'll do them like this. So you can either be on the Zoom or you can be in the Facebook group. I don't care. It's whatever you love doing. Okay. And so if you don't want to be seen on camera, jump in that Facebook group. But we'll do it on weekly. I will answer questions there. We'll also do some weekly Q&As. Then we're going to have an ebook journal for keeping track of your progress and all the training that we're going to be talking about. I'll do a daily text or email, your choice, okay? Or neither or both. I don't care. I will pelt you with help, or I will let you, do whatever you want. But we will have the ability to have a daily text and a daily email. And that's just kind of something that are reminders, maybe a reminder, like to me, I use tapping a lot, and I'll talk about that more in the 30 days, but I use tapping a lot. And sometimes I have to be reminded to do it. I meditate a lot. Sometimes I have to be reminded to do it. So I set up reminders for myself too. Then we've got a community. So it's like Jamie mentioned, it is so much easier with a group. Like, it really is. Like, I mean, I've done this on my own for years, and I figured out lots of ways to make it work. And I will tell you that it's so much easier to do if I've got a crowd who is cheering me on, because it just, like, I mean, there is a text. Oh, there'll also be a text group, And for the text group, what we'll do is we'll just depend on how many people who join us for the whole February thing. Because if it's a big crowd, we'll have small text groups because the text can go wild. But I will tell you about the text because it's something that I've seen be amazingly powerful, is that if someone's having a bad day, you just have had that shitty day, quite frankly, excuse me, but it's truth. And you're thinking, I don't know, this is really kind of like a waste of my time. Why am I bothering? And then you just put it in the text that like, yeah, had one of those days. And then you know what you're going to get? You're going to get all these people who come back and support you and love you and take care of you and hold you accountable. And it just makes it so much easier. And then a couple of other things is that this is something that I've never done before, but you're going to have lifetime access. So anytime we're doing a live one, you can join in on any of them I'm doing, because I think that it's like Jamie said, it's like everybody in my group has said, like, we've all done this some point or another, but to be able to do it with the support anytime we want it, it's just so much easier. And it becomes simple. Like I can tell you this, I'm just going to say this real quick, is that having done this on and off for years, it's just a no-brainer anymore. And that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to make it so that I'm not being triggered by the desire to have all the things that I want to have and I can't have them. It doesn't matter anymore. And I feel so much better. So, and then other than that, I'm here for you. And for those of you, if you want, I'm going to just drop the links, the link to the join in both of the groups, the Facebook page and the Zoom, so that you've got it. And I'd love to have you. It's not expensive, guys. It's like $97. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but whatever, right? It's what works. It's what I do, and I'm having fun. So any other questions before I jump off? And for those of you on the Facebook, oh, okay. I actually can see comments now. Facebook, Donna, thank you too. Rochelle, she's asking the week and time. I'm open this time. Okay. I don't normally say that, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a poll with everybody who's in, and we'll split the times, because I know that not everybody can be on certain times. It's impossible. Like, you know, getting 3 people together is one thing. Getting 30 people together is completely another animal. And then Kayla says that she's just being triggered right now because work is super stressing her out. She's doing accounting. And otherwise, those are the only comments I'm seeing. I have an idea. Hang on, let me try one more thing. And I either just kicked all y'all off the Facebook, probably did. So if I kicked you off Facebook, I apologize. If I didn't, thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we've got more, of course. and tomorrow is one of those things that, yeah, you want to be here, because we're going to be talking about some things that are really going to help. And in the meanwhile, thank you. And thank you guys for doing this for yourself. And thank you, Jamie and Kayla, for jumping on too. I will see y'all later, okay? Have a wonderful day. See ya.